What I'm talking about.
Wait! Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys. What are you talking about?
All young men with suits and ties, just sitting in the crowd smoking big cigars. I hope you're ready for what's coming now. I'm the one, I'm the lady that will bring it down. There's a joint on the corner where the big boys play, where the whiskey's running like the river, but they all never come for the booze and bass. I'm the one, I'm the lady that'll rock this place. That'll rock this place. That'll rock this place. Rock this place. Rock this place. Rock this place.
Hi, everybody. This is Maurice Velasquez, and welcome again to this episode of Winning in the Workplace. It's a real pleasure to have you here. We have a really interesting show today. I'm really excited about this. I have a personal friend of mine who's also been a mentor of mine for many years, and he's a very interesting and very successful banking financial advisor. And I don't know if I'm even describing him correctly, but I want to introduce you to him. His name is David Rockett. I'm going to bring him in, and we're going to talk about what he offers, and primarily the reason why I asked him, and he was so graciously to come on the show and tell me all about it, is because he does offer some unique instances that a lot of my clients are beginning to ask, how can I make my benefits and the things that I offer regarding insurance, between investments, outside of your traditional offerings, how can I offer new things and better things and more unorthodox things to my employees in part of their package? But I'm also, myself included, a lot of my clients we're having conversations on what is the best way to invest right now in the volatile market and the many challenges that we have in the just in the workplace, but primarily just overall life. All right, so without much ado, let me go ahead and invite David. Is he in the studio, y'all? David, are you there? Come on in, turn your camera on.
Right here, brother.
Hey, man, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay? Yeah. I'm doing good.
Yes,
doing good.
Hear
good
you
to have
fine.
you. And thank you so much for accepting my invitation. And it's glad. So look, did I introduce you? Right. I couldn't find you. What are you? I know what you are, but what's the best way to introduce you?
Oh, you did fine. Your audio is a little bit pausing every now and then, and so I didn't quite tell you.
All right, so let's try that again. Did I botch your intro? Did I describe you correctly?
No, not at all. Not at all. But I'm more of an insurance agent using the infinite banking concept than I am a banker. Okay. I know there's a bit of confusion there sometimes, but I actually do the infinite banking concept using life insurance. And so there is a banking overlap that you'll notice when we get to talking about it.
No, so that's great. Yeah. Are we going to get into this whole issue of becoming your own banker? That has been a very popular, I've begun to see it in the last 2 years. Are we going to talk about that?
Yes. If you want to, we can.
Well, no, yeah. All right. But tell me a little bit about yourself and everybody. David and I go back easily 25, 30 years, and we're both aging ourselves. We've known each other in many ways of life. We become extremely close friends. When I'm up in Monroe, I go visit with him and his family. When he comes to Baton Rouge, and oftentimes we just make a point to see each other. So we're really good friends, and it really is good to have you. So David, tell everybody about yourself. Tell us about yourself and why you do what you do and what this is all about.
Okay, good. Well, thank you. I am 70 years young, recently widowed. My wife died about 18 months ago. Debbie, she was an angel. But I was introduced, my history, I actually have 8 children and 21 grandchildren, by the way. But I was actually licensed to sell insurance in 1980. Got my Security Series 7 stockbroker's license in 1984 and worked as a financial planner, a jack of all trades, in the equities market mostly. From 1984 to probably around 1996, 97, I got bitten by the charitable gift and estate planning bug. And so I transitioned back toward insurance products because they're very, very useful in charitable giving and estate planning. If you're thinking from an equities point of view, it's a transition away from capital accumulation to capital preservation. And we can talk about that a little bit more later. But anyway, I worked as charitable gift and estate planning for a while. Then my wife got cancer, and so everything kind of got put back on the back burner because I was a primary caregiver. And then in the spring of 2021, I read Nelson Nash's book, Becoming Your Own Banker. And I have a prop. Here it is, Becoming Your Own Banker. I don't know if I can show that very well to you, but it
no, we can see it. We can see it.
What Nelson did was revolutionize the way that the insurance agent and the insurance customer viewed the usefulness of a whole life insurance policy, particularly what we are very quick to say in the infinite banking community, a properly designed whole life insurance product. What we mean by that is a whole life insurance product normally, almost always, issued by a mutual life insurance company, mutual instead of stock, because the mutual company is owned by the policy holder himself and is overfunded compared to what a traditional life insurance company or policy would be funded by. So we're dealing with overfunded or excessively funded whole life insurance products. And the reason we do that is because we want to be able to use it as our own bank. We want to use it as collateral. We want to use the cash value and the accumulations as collateral for our lending purposes. And so that's basically what the infinite banking concept is all about. And the reason why Nelson called it infinite is because there's so many different ways that you can use it that it multiplies. There is really an infinite number of ways that you can use a whole life insurance, overfunded whole life insurance policy. Do you want me to stop?
So no. I wanted to ask you a question. So whenever I read your literature or you talk about IBC, that's the infinite banking concept, correct?
That's right. It is a concept. Okay. It's not a product, and it's not a sales system. It's not a clever way for me to sell insurance. It's a concept of how you use a particular product.
So the product itself, the tool, is the whole life insurance, but the concept or the model is the IBC, the infinite banking concept.
The concept is IBC. The tool, as you mentioned, is the whole life insurance policy. And the reason for that is that, we could possibly use any number of other tools. Think of a CD at your bank. But there are advantages, many legal contractual advantages of using a whole life insurance policy that other tools and products simply don't have.
So what specifically makes life insurance? Well, I think I'm hearing that life insurance is the best tool, or is that or are there many others?
No, that is by far the best tool, and that's why infinite banking practitioners with the Nelson Nash Institute and most any other infinite banking practitioner would use a whole life insurance, an overfunded whole life insurance issued by a mutual company. There are contractual.
Why is it the best tool?
Well, there are any number of reasons. One reason are the tax benefits. The accumulations accumulate tax free. You don't pay taxes on the accumulations. And if you ever should want to withdraw the money from a whole life insurance, they're withdrawn tax free up to your cost basis. So that is primary taxable. Another reason why you find that the whole life insurance policy is used is because if you get ready, the contract itself guarantees you the right to use it as a collateral from a loan from the insurance company. Now, you could go to your bank, but the insurance company obligates itself to give you a loan based upon your collateral. And you can usually do that with a phone call or with one form, and it's very, very efficient and quick. I don't know if you've ever tried to get a quick loan from a bank, but it usually doesn't happen very quickly. They want tax returns. They want to know what you're going to use it for. They want to know when you're going to pay it back. And the life insurance company is not interested in any of that. You're borrowing against the death benefit and the cash that's in the policy. So they know they're going to get paid back. They don't care if you use the money to go to Vegas. They don't care if you use the money to go around the world. They contract themselves legally obligated to give you that loan. And so it's really a convenience mechanism also.
So, and again, remember, please, I'm sorry if I'm sounding very ignorant, and my listeners know that when I bring on guests, I tend to be very ignorant because I usually don't pick topics that I'm good at. I'm usually pick topics that I'm educating myself in. So if it's a dumb question, it's just a dumb question. But so basically, that's the basics of borrowing from yourself, and thus I'm become my own banker. Is that the tie-in?
Yeah, you've got it. You probably understand more than you realize.
Okay.
But people call it becoming your own banker. You're really not borrowing from yourself.
Oh, okay.
You're using the collateral in your policy to borrow from the life insurance company. And so you're really not borrowing your money out of the policy at all. And that's another advantage for using life insurance as your collateral, is because your money always stays compounding in the policy. If you ever looked at compounding tables and the way money compounds, I think Einstein said it was, the seventh wonder of the world or the eighth, whatever. I lose track of my numbers there about the wonders of the world. But he said compounding is just magical if you leave it alone and you don't interrupt it and don't bother it. And that's the reason why we love to keep the cash value and all the dividends in the policy and borrow against them, because we're not interrupting that nest egg that continues to grow at anywhere from 4 to 5.5% every year. Once you let the policy mature, and the life insurance policy, it has another characteristic to it that most people don't realize, is that, and Nelson illustrates that in the book, is that when a plane takes off, when a jet takes off from New York to Los Angeles, it's the most efficient use of its fuel the first couple of hours. But the closer it gets, the longer it stays in the air, the more efficient it uses the fuel because it has less weight. Well, insurance policy works very similar to that. The longer you keep it, the better it performs. The people that lose their money.
And when you say the longer, when you talk about a plane, I can imagine, 20,000 feet, 50,000 feet. When you say if you keep the life insurance for a long time, what does that period mean? Because a lot of people's concern, I know my concern is, well, how long do I have to leave it alone? And if I don't get my head around that, then I tend to say, well, you know what? I'd rather keep my money in my own pocket and have facts. What's the timeline that you recommend whenever you say leaving it alone for a certain amount of time?
Well, it all depends upon the design of the policy and what you want to use the policy for.
Okay.
If you want to use the policy for your death benefit, then you don't want to cancel the policy
at all.
Infinite bank, go all the way. You just let it continue to mature. Now, usually the infinite banking policies are designed to break even on your premium somewhere between the 4th and the 8th year, depending upon your age, your health, and how quickly you're trying to fund it. So you have as much money in your capital reserves, or what we would call your cash values, which are your cash values and your dividends added together. You have as much in there as you've paid into the policy by the end of your 4th to 8th year. And usually that's when we would encourage you to start using it.
Got it.
Now there are exceptions. There's exceptions to every rule. Sometimes people want to dabble in borrowing against their policy early on, especially if it's say you owe $1,000 in taxes and you don't want to spend your liquid capital. Well, you borrow $1,000 from the insurance company using your policy cash values, and you pay it back. You're actually paying your capital, your taxes with borrowed money. And then you pay it back. And then you pay it back. You always pay it back. There's a long chapter. Well, none of the chapters in Nelson's book are very long, but there's a good chapter in his book that likens your borrowing to a grocery store owner taking peas off the shelf. You always pay your loan back. You always
Got
pay
it.
it back. And the more you do that, the better your policy performs. It's amazing the mechanics and the way that the actuarial numbers work in a life insurance policy, that the more you do this, the better the policy actually performs.
Well, this is very
So
interesting,
you
very
can,
good. Because I know that
you,
this concept and there's been a lot of people that are in your field that hit my news feed, and I watch a little bit of their videos here and there, try to understand. You're making it very practical, very easy, very good explanation. Um, let me go into, and if you think I'm getting ahead too far, let me know. But before we talk, you talked to me about the concept of, understanding my needs, problems, and pains. You remember that,
Mhm.
and you started explaining to me, and it was like, okay, hold on, wait until we're recording until our conversation. Is now a good time to talk about that?
Yeah, we can talk about that. There are any number of motivations for people to use the infinite banking concept with a whole life insurance policy. And let's
Okay,
contrast just two. Let's contrast just
sure.
two. Let's suppose that you are a newly minted physician, orthopedic surgeon, and you're starting to make money, and you're making more money than you're spending, and you're wondering, where's a good place for me to put that money? Well, if you want to fund a whole life insurance policy according to the infinite banking policy principles, you're going to load up that policy, and you're looking for accumulating a nest egg that you can borrow against, whether it be for your taxes, for your children's tuition, for an automobile. You actually are using the capital in your policy as collateral for your loans, and you pay it back. And so at that point, your policy becomes that's where your policy becomes your own banker. You're actually using your policy for your banking needs. Now let's change hats here pretty quickly and say that you're a 68-year-old widow whose husband died 4 years ago, and you're very, very suspicious of the ups and downs and of the stock market, Wall Street. In investor lingo, we call that volatility. You're very nervous about that. In other words, the way that the investment community would describe her is being very risk averse. She does not want to take any risk. She doesn't like the ups and downs of the market. And there are things that are involved in the distribution of assets that are very, very different from the accumulation of assets. So there are any number of directions we could go with this conversation, but let's just talk about the lady. She has concerns that she does not want to take any risk. Well, she can use, if her life insurance policy and all of her retirement funds are accessible to be put in and transferred to a properly designed infinite banking policy, she can borrow against that for the rest of her life and use the borrowed money, which are not taxable, for her income. She can use that as her retirement vehicle. And you say, well, what about the accumulation of that debt? What happens to the accumulation of that debt? Well, if there's enough money in the policy to cover the debt and the growth of her death benefit, then she's growing every year. The policy actually grows faster than her debt grows.
Wow. So this is it's very versatile as far as the many different ways this can be tailored depending on really what the person needs.
This is true. And it's amazing to look at those kinds of illustrations. And that's why, if I'm going to be doing more and more um, videos to explain the infinite banking concept, case studies, laying all that out and showing the numbers before and after is very persuasive.
No, I like
Nelson does some of that in his book, showing case studies of how the policy actually performs better than you ever would have expected.
So no, I like that. I mean, we could, yeah, I think that we should, because I mean, you're not going to be able to you're not going to be able to cover all the case studies here. I'd rather go ahead and plan for us to do short segments about specific case studies, put them out there so we can educate ourselves and educate our listeners. And I think that would be really a good arsenal, a good library, so that if my grandmother, if my neighbor, my elderly friend, and I know that fits just for her, she could watch that 7-minute video as opposed to the other gentleman who's my friend who's a doctor. You know what I'm saying? So I like the idea of recording those. That's a really good, but at least giving us an overview of what those are about, and that's really helpful. So let me ask you this: Did I jump in any way too far ahead where you finished telling us about any other specific banking aspects of the infinite banking concept, or is this pretty much what you
this is a good trend? This is good. No, not at all. This is good because it allows me to highlight the reason why the Nelson Nash infinite banking concept appealed to me so well, is because it not only assuages the concern of someone that's wanting to accumulate assets, going up the mountain of accumulation, thinking about, you see those ads, what's your number when you can retire? Well, the infinite banking community is not so terribly interested in what's your number, but there is a very distinct difference between the accumulation of assets and the distribution of assets in retirement and estate planning, which is kind of my wheelhouse. I like dealing with older clients that have already accumulated assets, that they want to preserve them. They want to preserve them for their charitable concerns, their churches, their charities that they hold dear to their heart, including their children, of course. But they also want to be able to leave a legacy after they're gone without jeopardizing their income. And so you end up with a lot of people very, very concerned in their retirement years with the distribution of those assets, watching the stock ticker, worrying about, is there going to be a crash? And if there is a crash, how is that going to affect my retirement account? How is that going to affect me 5-10 years down the road if I live to life expectancy? What if I live past life expectancy? Am I going to run out of money? Well, those are things that were extremely attractive to me in the Nelson Nash concept of infinite banking, because that's part of the infinite part of it. It applies to charitable giving and to retirement and estate planning just as effectively, I believe, as it does to the young doctor that wants to accumulate assets in his IBC policy.
Sure, this is very timely. Myself and my dad and my brothers and cousins and a couple of uncles, we try to do a monthly guys' night out where we meet in someone's house and we say, all right, everybody bring a topic, and it's just a bunch of guys eating and drinking and having a good time. And we pick really relevant topics. And one of the topics that we talked about yesterday was the failing. My uncle's topic was the failing and most difficult American retirement Social Security system. And we thought that was a great title. And then I said, all right, well, what do you mean by it? And the more he explained how difficult it is to understand it and how much you're going to get for Social Security, what the benefits are, what the packages are, and then just how ignorant a lot of us have become on knowing what to do to supplement the difference when we realize, oh my goodness, that's not going to pay my bills and I'm going to outlive my money. Maybe I should have, and then we start all kind of reminiscing like, I don't even know what the options are. I mean, I'm ignorant, and we're sharing with each other. Well, I'm doing this. Yeah, but how much is that producing? And we're all going. And so the consensus was that, we somehow have lost an understanding of knowing how to do this. I mean, can somebody see? I mean, you seem to be scratching that itch. So. Surprised if one of my future other men's nights, I'm going to bring you in there and say, all right, David, talk, because you have a ready audience. I like that this to be speaking to that, because man, just in the last 20 minutes, you've educated me a whole lot about it. Let me ask you this question.
Sure.
Is this something that companies like employers can offer in any way as part of a benefits package to their employees? Or is it just a pass-through referral? Is there any instrument like that?
Oh, yes. There are any number of applications of this kind of policy. Now, the insurance industry has been involved in key man insurance for generations, for decades. And what that really addresses is if you have a key man that the company is wanting to insure against his loss. What happens if he's gone? What happens if he dies or becomes disabled and he can't work? Well, an insurance policy is very good for that. What happens if a partner dies and the remaining partner does not want to be involved in business with his surviving spouse, or the surviving spouse doesn't want to be involved in business with the remaining partner? Well, you have insurance is used to buy out those situations.
Okay, so this
Insurance
information
policies
is
are,
part of that.
oh yeah, a big part of that. And
Great. Now, what about from employer to employees?
supplemental retirement? There are any number of supplemental retirement possibilities that would use the infinite banking
All right.
design of a policy.
I have a couple of clients that I may refer you to because we were discussing this one in the last 3 weeks, and it became part of one of their agenda points. I'm discussing what other options. So yeah, I'm going to make a couple of referrals. This is very good. All right. So how does one work with you? Where do you fit in? Let's say that I want to do business. I'm interested in this. Do you become my agent, or and then you and I stick around here for life, or what happens? Do you refer me to another program, or what does that look like?
It depends on how complicated it is. I can handle many things myself. There are certain things that I would call in if it has to do with a business sale. There are people that specialize in business sales. Now, I would want to be part of the team that's involved in that, but most businesses that the owner and founder is trying to sell, it can get complicated very quickly. And I don't want to pretend to be an expert in every area of that. I'm not a tax accountant. I'm not a CPA. And so a CPA would probably need to be involved in that. A CPA would probably want to be involved. The owner's CPA would want to be involved in the deferred compensation plan, the supplemental retirement plan, or especially in buy-sell agreements, key man insurance. Usually the CPA wants to be involved in most of those situations. And so, no, I do not replace the CPA, or in some cases, I wouldn't replace, the proverbial brother-in-law that wants to be involved in looking over things, because in all fairness, some brother-in-laws are quite sharp.
Yeah. So what other question did I not ask that would be good for this segment? Because I know that you and I have a lot more topics that are all related to this, that we're going to do future recordings. We're going to do short courses and things of that sort, because I know you're starting your school, your online school. But for this segment, as a way of introduction, what did I not ask, or what topic do you want to bring up that would be good to fit in here towards the end?
I'm not sure. I believe that we've covered most of the. I'm sure I'll think of something once we get off of the recording.
We'll make that part 2. Come on back and we'll do another one.
But I believe we've covered most things. I really try to specialize in keeping things simple and not overcomplicating things. And so I want to just reemphasize that the infinite banking concept is a concept. And the tool that we use is an overfunded whole life insurance policy that is specially designed to accumulate capital for any number of possible applications in the future. And
that's great.
The best way to learn about that is just to talk with me about your particular situation. What is it that you're trying to accomplish? And I'll tell you whether or not I believe I have some illustrations that can help you decide whether or not you want to go in this direction.
I like the fact that when people call you, you send them a link to 2 short videos, and you refer them to a book. And so a person does a little bit of watching, they read some material. If they're interested, they call you back. So you basically become a coach, right? And you help them figure out if that's the highway that they want to, but you become one of those ramps to that conversation, right?
Absolutely. And that's very important. I'm glad you brought that up, because the infinite banking community in general, and the Nelson Nash Institute in particular, is very, very keen, very, very smart to emphasize the education of the client. The more you understand, the more you know, the more you're going to see how this can apply in various areas. And so it's very important for us that you understand what the infinite banking concept is all about. That's why Nelson's book and the videos that you mentioned are so important, because we want an educated client. Now, does that mean that everybody has to be equally educated? Well, do you have to be equally educated as an engineer about an automobile? No, there are engineers that want to know how it works. And I think I mentioned that before. We don't all understand an automobile equally. Some people say, I don't really want to know how the automobile works that much. I want to just you to teach me how to drive it. And so
you're the first step. If I want to get started in that conversation, you're the one that
I would love to be the coach that helps you understand IBC and apply it to your life the best way that you think is appropriate.
All right. Well, let's go there. Give us your contact information. How do we get a hold of you? How do we reach you?
Well, my phone number is 318-237-1229. I'm in Monroe, Louisiana, and I'm on the Infinite Banking Practitioners, infinitebanking.org/agents, plural, AGENTS/Rockett 762. I'm the only authorized infinite banking practitioner in the state of Louisiana.
Yeah, that's great.
I had to take a course, and I am certified authorized infinite banking practitioner.
All right. Well, hey man, I know we owe each other a beer and get together. We've threatened each other to visit each other, but no, it's good to see you. Hey, thank you for your help. Really, very glad to have you.
I hope it was informative. I hope it was helpful. I enjoyed the visit, and we'll have to do this again.
All right. So this comes to the end of this program. Of this episode. Remember, you can follow everything that we do at my website, mauricetraining.com, and also to my online school. Do not forget, we have now tons of material there. It is leadershipandgrowth.us, all spelled out. And to access my podcast, this podcast here that you're listening to, Winning in the Workplace, just go to mauricepodcast.com. All right. Thank you guys very much for joining us. Good to have you here. And remember, together, if we help one another, we can all win in the workplace. Have a great day.